Raise your hand if you have ever had campaign failure to launch syndrome. Hi, how are ya? What's up, baby bards? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Ann Richmond, aka Hearthsinger, the head bard in charge, and I'm a huge D&D nerd, if you haven't noticed. Have you ever spent months or even years writing a campaign, but it just never feels ready for prime time? I'm making today's video in hopes that I can help you get your campaign off the page and onto the table as soon as possible. I realize that there are plenty of people in the greater tabletop gaming community that have absolutely no problem going up a creek without a paddle, and lots of people enjoy it. I do too from time to time, but I also know that there are folks out there who struggle, and I want to help you out. As someone who creates for a living, whether it's creating a campaign or honestly this video, I am never going to be 100% satisfied. I know that about myself, and I think some of it is about feeling like if I actually put something I've been working on out there, I'll ruin it, and then I can never go back and have a do-over, and that scares the bejesus out of me. And so, at least when it comes to tabletop RPGs, I've created what I call the pillars of preparation to help me get the job done. And honestly, if you have any tips about the video creation process, I still haven't quite wrapped my brain around that particular brand of fear, so advice, please. I created the pillars of preparation so that I could be mentally conscious of the bare minimum I think I need to create a campaign before I start actually engaging players with it. The very first pillar is determine a theme. I want to know the feeling of the game that I'm playing. I talked about this a little bit in my one-shot video, which I'll link below for you, but in a world of endless possibility, I need to have just a sentence that I can use to express to my players what we're going to be doing so that they know how to build characters for that story that they'll be happy with. Here are some examples. Something is causing the walls between planes to grow thin, and creatures from other worlds are spilling into the prime material plane, bringing chaos with them. In the tenuous peace following an imperial invasion, the new ruler seeks to control all magic users who are not associated with certain religious groups. The oceans overbear their confines, and the forests creep in on towns and villages and even cities as the gods of nature seek wrathful revenge upon mortals who would seek to control and conquer them. Pillar number 2 is to collect your characters' backstories. It's important that you have an idea of who these people want to play at your table, but before you start playing, it's not necessary to get a 10-page backstory from everybody. What I need are answers to 3 very specific questions. Why have they chosen to live the life of an adventurer? What would they kill to have or to know? And who wants to see them fail? Let these answers inspire your storytelling and use this conversation as an opportunity to guide your players towards choices that you think they'll enjoy and get the most mileage out of. Pillar number 3, answer the same 3 questions from your first BBEG, or Big Bad Evil Guy, if you're unfamiliar with the term. What led them to a life of ambition? Now that I say that out loud, it's the most Voldemort thing I've ever said. What would they kill to have or to know, and who stands between them and what they want? If you know these things, you can introduce this villain at any point on their journey to achieve their dastardly ends. Having a clear understanding of what that BBEG wants and what they will do to achieve it means that no matter what chaos your game is thrown into by the players' choices and their achievements, you can always adjust on the fly and figure out what their next move is. This creates a world that grows and changes no matter what the players do, sometimes because of it and sometimes in spite of it. Pillar number 4, keep it simple. Start by planning one town. It's easy to get overwhelmed by the intricacies of creating and housing an entire world inside your human brain. So whether you're preparing a town that exists in Faerun from one of the many published setting guides in D&D, or you're creating one yourself, just focus on prepping that one place. For me, that's less about creating a deep web of politics for levels like 1 through 5, and way more about figuring out what kind of resources would be available to the players if they want to buy health potions, new weapons, sell treasure that they've collected. Are you starting in a city like Waterdeep where everything is going to be available to them from level 1 if they can afford it? Or are you starting in a more isolated town where resources and supplies are more limited and things like health potions might cost a little bit more than they do in the book? Is it a farm town? Is it a military settlement? Answer these questions, but you don't have to do it for an entire world. Just do it for the place you think you're going to be spending the first couple of levels. For me, that includes making a unique list of character names, shops, and taverns, just in case I can't come up with anything in the moment at the table. That extra little security blanket ensures that I don't get spooked by that process and feeling like I failed at it and then just feel off my game for the rest of the session. Pillar number 5 is to build some basic conflicts in your starting area. This means figuring out if there is a group of unfriendly elves that live in the woods, or half-orc refugees who fled from a dragon raid on a neighboring town. This will help you understand what kind of adversaries and allies your player characters might encounter in the first few levels. What I like to do to inspire encounter building for this kind of thing is to go over to Kobold Fight Club and enter the number of players and the level that they're starting at, and then hit randomize and just see what kinds of enemies they could potentially go up against. And once I know that, I might start building out encounters like that so I can just slot them in based on what the characters are seeming to enjoy or what makes the most sense. And finally, pillar number 6. Embrace chaos as your lord and savior! Just make up the rest of the table. Seriously. If you start playing, you'll understand what aspects of these beginning tidbits you've teased them with that they actually want to engage with. And then you can deepen the creation of those characters and see where it takes you. I realize this is kind of a bonus pillar. That's what she said. I'm so sorry. It might go without saying for a lot of GMs, but I sort of need to remind myself that half the fun is just figuring it out. And that muscle, that experience of cliff diving without a net into an adventure, it needs exercise. So if you're super scared of anything I've been telling you being the only things you know before you start out on a campaign, it's totally okay. It just means you need to practice being uncomfortable. Let your players know how you're feeling and ask if it's okay if before you start the main campaign, you can run a few one-shots with very little planning and just see how it goes. Obviously, you have to plan something or you'll just stop dead in your tracks when it comes to building encounters. So when I'm doing that, I'll do the same thing I mentioned before. I'll go to Kobold Fight Club or I'll go to the D&D Beyond character builder and I'll just randomly find some appropriate leveled foes and base a very broad plan on that. I hope this video was helpful for anyone who's out there and needing the reassurance that yes, you are ready to play your dream campaign. If you think I missed anything important and you have your own suggestions to add, or if you have questions for me about any of this, just go ahead and drop them in the comments below. If you had fun today, and I hope you did, because if not, then what the hell am I doing with my life? But please, by all means, hit the like, press the subscribe button, and click the notification bell so that you get a notification every time I upload a new video, which is weekly on Wednesdays. I also do some streaming over on Twitch on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, and I put out a new podcast exclusive to my Patreon every Thursday. Have a fantastic rest of your week. Now get out there and live your quest life. Bye!